Aloha everybody, this is Kaylani with the Wild Wahine, and this is your astro forecast for this week, August 9th all the way until the 15th. So we pull out a couple of transits that I think are going to be important for you for this upcoming week so that you can work with the energy and you can best use the energy as opposed to working against the energy and wanting to pull all your hair out. So essentially this week is going to be marked with a lot of Venusian things, which I love because y'all know how I feel about Venus. So Venus is picking up some dignity because she's moving into the sign of Libra, which is her home sign, and I'm so happy because she has been fallen. Venus in Virgo right now is opposing Neptune in Pisces. That was something that perfected at the beginning of the week. That was yesterday. We're still going to be feeling this for the next several days. So this energy is going to be good for some things, and then it's going to be kind of like not so great for others. So let's kind of break that down. We're going to have a lot of feelings that we're feeling, but we're also going to be kind of sort of processing them in more of an analytical kind of sort of glass half full way because of the Virgoan energy of Venus. It definitely takes Venus, our planet of beauty and love and connection and fairness and harmony, and puts her in a place of like, okay, how can I bring those things about? How can I analyze? How am I making sure that these things are together? Remember, Venus likes to bring things together, but the nature of Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, likes to kind of separate and analyze things. So we have a couple of positive things that are happening with this. It's about like exotic mystical appeal. It can be about helping people. You know, Virgo is really, really good about like helping and healing and using like herbs and medicine and things like that to help. It's about like mending things that are broken, those kind of sort of old stories about like nurses who like mended the soldier back together and then they fell in love and stuff. It's that kind of sort of energy. It can be dreams about loved ones, dreamed about loved ones that have passed on. Neptune is involved. It has to do with watery places, visiting places of water, being by bodies of water, going swimming, all of those types of things. It also has to do with like a technical aspect, the technical aspect of beauty, building or creating beautiful technical things. So people who do woodworking, people who do sculpture, anybody that's kind of sort of creating and building that level of craftsmanship that's beautiful but also kind of fantastical. So you could be like working with like imaginary animals or like mystical animals or things like that. So it's a really good place for someone who likes to work with their hand and create beautiful things, but of the mystical type of sense, puppetry, all of that kind of stuff. So some of the challenging parts of this can be codependency, confused, because Neptune is in Pisces. So there is a lot of confusion. Things don't look as they really are. They don't seem as they are. It could be deception. There can be a lot of over idealization of how things are, how you want them to be, how you see them, how you want to view the beauty in things. That is something that, especially when Venus and Neptune are having a conversation, it can very much be like, this is the ideal, this is how I want things to be, but not really seeing the reality of how they are. Love sickness, a yearning to be in a relationship, not knowing why, a relationship is kind of ending and not really wanting to let it go. A lot of those, trying to figure out how you can work and make it better when it actually maybe just mean something that needs to be released. Unclear boundaries or something that's huge at this time. Self-deception. It could be sneaky behavior. It could be deceptive lovers. It really reminds me in terms of like putting it in like a movie context, which I like to do a lot. If you guys, and I think it was called Breaking Dawn. You guys know the Twilight series. I think it was the second one. I think that's Breaking Dawn, where Edward left. He was mourning him and she ended up hanging out with the guys, all the guys that were werewolves, but she kept thinking of like putting herself in danger and thinking, what would Edward do? Would he come to her? Would he rescue her? When she put herself in danger, that's when she felt close to him and felt his presence. And so that kind of vibe, that whole vibe of like not being able to let somebody go, putting yourself in danger, wanting to be rescued, all of that stuff, that's kind of sort of the vibe of this energy. Venus then, still in Virgo, trines Pluto in Capricorn, and that happens on the 11th. And we're going to be feeling that too for a couple of days until about the 14th. It perfects, like I said, on the 11th. So with this, Venus is kind of purifying itself right before it goes into Libra, which is its home sign, where it picks up all the dignity and then it's doing some yummy Venusian things. So it's almost like it has this purging. It kind of sort of is a baptism by fire. It's the point where, the caterpillar is in the chrysalis and it is like liquefied its body and it's like just growing its wings right before it bursts out and becomes a beautiful butterfly, which is what happens when Venus enters Libra. It's this space. It's this space of transformation. So there's some really good things that can come out of it, but it could also be a little bit challenging for some people. Intense, passionate. It can be regeneration of a relationship if your relationship has been dull, if it's not been working, if things have been like rough. It could be coming together and really figuring out how you're going to do it. It is a trine, so trines are of the nature of Jupiter, actually. So it could be bringing some information that's going to connect you, transformative love. It could be like the transformation of a relationship, like you're dating somebody for a really long time, and then suddenly you're like, this is the person, this is who I want to be with, and like, you know, let me ask her to marry me or him to marry me, and then let's get together and let's just build something. Let's build a family, because this is Pluto in Capricorn, so it wants to build and create some structure. So it could really be like, you know, I'm ready to settle down and like make a commitment to this person and the type of life that we want to have. It does have this kind of Beauty and the Beast type of energy as well with it, which is kind of sort of interesting. It could be beauty that heals you, beauty that is deeply healing for you, art that you see that heals you. It could be an intimacy that you had with somebody, especially if you come from a situation where you've had some, you know, intimate troubles in terms of trauma in your life or in your young life, and you haven't really been able to connect with somebody on an intimate level. This could be a transit where you actually are able to find somebody that you trust and connect with them and kind of sort of grow from that experience and really have a deep connection. It could be people who are death doulas, people who work with the dead. On the negative end, though, there is obsession. There can be painful love that ends, you know, because the transformation is complete and you realize this is not the person or the situation that I want to be in. There can be shadow aspects of love, like jealousy, intense codependency, not really being able to transform the way, and kind of the strangling of the relationship, so to speak. There can be the juxtaposition of intense love, but also intense suffering, you know, in the fight and makeup, and then the fight again and makeup, and all of that kind of sort of like unhealthy dynamics in a relationship. So we want to just be careful of that as well. So Venus enters the sign of Libra on the 15th. So this is going to be feeling really different for a lot of us, and it should be feeling pretty good, because we're moving away from like the separation that Venus had in Virgo, where she was like analyzing things and separating things out and being really practical and thinking about like things that were really tangible, and a little bit less connected to like the sensual side, a little bit more connected to the mental side, because, you know, Mercury rules Virgo. This particular transit, as Venus is transiting in the sign of Libra, is going to be great for artists. It's going to be great for lovers, and it's, you know, a cardinal sign Libra is, so it is a call to action. It is actively doing something. I'm not just kind of sort of going back and forth with information. So Libra is all about communication. It's a social sign. It's about beauty, about art, about things that you value, about really coming together to balance out things and like bring about a compromise. It's very social. It's very charming. It's very witty. It loves people and relationships, and to be in relationships, and what romance is all about, and connection, you know, and Venus is just at home there and loves all of this. So we're going to see, you know, that energy in terms of abundance and bringing like prosperity and like, you know, drawing things into it. Venus is in a place where she's going to be able to bring things. She is our lesser benefic planet that brings the goodies. So this is going to feel good. So some of the things that might be a bit challenging with that is just what happens with Venus when she just goes over, you know, the top with it, in a way of just, you know, spending way too much money on beautiful things, like way too much money on all of the clothes, the haircut, the bags, the whatever it is that you spend money on, the food, you know, like one piece of chocolate cake was great, but like during this particular time she spends in Libra, there's a whole lot of chocolate cake. The excessiveness of things is always something to watch out when you're talking about the benefic planets, because usually they're adding on, they're bringing things together. There can be too much, and that's like what we have to worry about sometimes. And also just the people-pleasing aspect, because, you know, in Libra, you know, it's social. It likes to be agreeable. It wants to say, yes, let's do that, or let's bring these two opposing views together and let's make them work. And so sometimes you'll say yes to things that you don't really want to say yes to. And then comes the passive aggressiveness, because you're just like, I didn't really want to do that. And then, you know, you're kind of sort of like dragging your heels on that. So it's just best to have really good boundary, that you're able to say yes to the things that you can do and say no to the things that you can't. And that's going to be really important. So next up, we're talking about Mercury. So Mercury is in Leo still at this point. opposite Jupiter in Aquarius today for the next couple of days because it is opposing. You know, we talked a little bit about Mercury Leo simply because that is like the mind and communication and all of the things kind of coming from a personal place, coming from the I place, coming from a my lived experience place. This is my experience. This is what I have to say about it. This is my opinion on something. Opposing Jupiter in Aquarius, which usually has to do with like wisdom and knowledge of the group and of the collective. So some of these things that are going to kind of come up with this particular transit is broad ranging ideas about big things, having big picture ideas, trying to negotiate between the smaller ideas within a larger picture, promoting yourself on social media, promoting yourself to groups and to other people, what it is that you do, like getting on video, getting lives, going live, telling people what you do and sharing who you are and what your experience is with others to bring them in for business. This really has like all of the ideas and all of the energy and all of the kind of information. It's a very like encyclopedic mind. And there's this MacGyver quality to it. Like I have the tools and I know what I need to do, all the specificities to be able to do this one big thing. It's kind of sort of like I'm gathering all of the data, I'm crunching all the numbers, I'm looking at all of the statistics, and then I can say, well, this is what we're dealing with. This is the new protocol. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to be kind of sort of seeing that. The gathering of information and looking at what new protocols will be. My guess is this is probably going to have to do with the Rona, since that's something that's so prevalent in our lives right now, especially with Delta and all of that. So my guess is there's going to be a lot of, you know, sifting through, especially when Mercury goes into Virgo, of information, and then maybe some new protocols or new ways that we're doing things. Some of the things, the challenges that come with this, and it can be an exaggeration. It can be overconfidence, you know, just because of that Jupiterian quality. Like, you know, this group knows best, this person knows best, this is what I want to do. It could be lack of details that are not going to help support the bigger picture of things. It can be just so excessive conversations, excessive talking, excessive information to the point where you're just experiencing information overload and you can't really process anymore. There can be a lot of mental clutter. There can be a lot of just kind of, you know, especially potentially with, you know, people that are in, you know, positions of power, just saying things, you know, that wasn't correct. It could be like, we say a lot of diarrhea of the mouth, just kind of sort of regurgitating stuff, especially when Mercury's in Leo at this particular point, because this is like my opinion. So I'm just going to like tell everybody what my opinion is, and I don't care whether it's factual or whether it's not. I'm just going to share it because, you know, this is what I believe and this is what's important and this is what I should, you know, this is what it is that can affect the masses. So we're going to see that especially with Mercury in Leo. Now, Mercury will be moving into the sign of Virgo, where it is exalted. So I'm really happy, like I said at the beginning of this video, because, you know, to have Venus and Mercury, essentially like our heart and our mind in home and exalted positions, feel good and will feel good to us and just, you know, make more sense. Mercury enters Virgo on the 11th and it stays there until the 28th. It is exalted. This is where Mercury shines. Now, it's not very long that it's actually in this exaltation, but I want to take a moment and talk about it because I think it's going to be important. It's so good if you're just trying to get things done, if you're writing, if you're trying to, like, business-wise, please pay attention to this transit, especially, which I'll talk about next week on the 18th when Mercury will be conjunct Mars in Virgo. Such a great time to, like, have the energy to get, like, something that you just have been having a hard time finding the energy or finding the clarity for done. So Mercury in the sign of Virgo, it's mutable earth. The difference between Mercury when it was in Gemini, which can be all of the information coming to you at once and it's like overwhelming and it's too much and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm just flooded and I'm just talking and processing and it's so airy, it's not grounded to me. You know, with Virgo, it's grounded because it's earth. So it's like information coming in and all the facts and all the statistics and all the data, but you can do something with it because Virgo is so useful about like separating the BS and getting to work and just like being like able to just get stuff done. And as you can see, I'm super excited about that because I love that. I'm a big generator of creativity, but it's like, oh, the times when we have these transits where we can actually like ground it and get work done and make the moves that we said we were going to do is so amazing. It's really facts before feelings. It's not feelings. So we're moving out of this like lived experience. This is what I think in my divine right, you know, the Mercury Leo kind of bravado. This is like, what are the facts? What do the facts say? What does the science say? What does the, you know, all of the things say? Like, where is the hard data? Let's look at that. Let's analyze that. And does it work? And what can we do with this so that we're not just talking? what are we doing, especially when Mercury conjuncts Mars? What are we doing? So important. Finding practical solutions when things were not working. Like, I just am hoping that during this particular transit, that is going to be happening, you know, in the world and also just in our everyday lives, right? Sometimes we're just hitting the wall, and it's just not working. We can't get over it. And this is like, what is the solution to this? Like, how can we, you know, implement some actions with what we're doing and like really kind of ground it and act on it. It really does have the ability to have all of the information. It has like this inspector gadget. Do you guys remember that? It's like such a long time ago, a cartoon, like, you know, and so it's like, you know, he's got all the tools, like they just coming out of his little coat, and he's able to like problem solve everything because he has all the little gadgets and knickknacks and all that kind of stuff. And that's essentially what this is going to feel like. It's like, oh, I got that. Oh, I have something that'll fix that. I can fix that. I can fix that. I can fix that. So it'll have that kind of energy. Bringing detailed, logical, effective, you know, communication and tools to the place so that you can use is going to be important. Some of the things that could be challenging, because we still do have our challenges with everything, it can be obsessive with perfection. It can be very much like a glass half full situation, what people would say is like a very positive or open perspective, because, you know, you're looking at all the scenarios. I mean, that's what you have when you have this Mercury energy. All of the information is coming at you. So you're looking at all the possible scenarios, some of which can be not great. So you're taking under consideration all the positive things, but also all the challenging things as well, and figuring out what you want to do. Definitely wanting to get all of the things in order before you launch or do things. You can waste a lot of time with that. That can happen sometimes too. And then just letting the inner critic take over, you know, just the criticism that you can always do it better. Like, I can say this better, I can do this better, we can be more effective. And while you're always looking to be more effective and find shortcuts and so forth, you can be so critical of what you're doing right then. And you could be so critical that you actually do nothing because you're just so thinking about how it could be better and what you could have had and how this should have been different. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys through this week. There's a whole lot of energy that's happening. It's definitely kind of a little bit more on this upbeat, especially since we have two of our personal planets that are going to be home and in exaltation. So I'm looking forward to that energy as a shift to what we had for the last 2 weeks. If you have any questions, make sure you just comment below, like and subscribe, and share or tag people in this content if you find it useful. Remember, you can find me all the time on Clubhouse. Every Wednesday we have spiritual chats where we do readings and a whole bunch of other things, and that's 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So aloha so much and have a wonderful week.